Welcome, and thank you all for joining us for another live episode of Teachers for Teachers. I'm Dr. Dejana, and I'm here with my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Leah.
Hello, I'm really happy to be here, and yes, welcome to everyone. I'm excited about our guest today. Basil Kaluba came to us, referred to us by a professor at USC who had come across what Basil has been doing with the nonprofit that he started in graduate school called Inertia, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about that. But Dejana, do you want to introduce our guest?
Sure, absolutely. Basil, we're so happy to have you on board, specifically to speak about some of your work with your nonprofit that was designed to introduce STEM education into Title I schools in your local area in Florida. And this is something that you did while you were a graduate student, which is cool. And it's just evolved into more work. It seems like you started Inertia in 2017, and you're currently a consultant with Hurons, which currently moved you from Florida to locally to where we're at to the Los Angeles area. Does that sound pretty good?
Yeah, it's good.
All
Spot
right,
on.
cool. I was going to get it started. But before we get deep into the conversation and learn more about you and some of your contributions, I would like to introduce some additional people that we have on the panel. So, hello, everybody. Say a warm welcome to Dr. Mark Riddle. Mark, go ahead and say hello.
Good to see y'all again.
We're happy to have Mark back. Mark has degrees in music, theology, and sociology, and he currently works at West Coast University and is a local living here with all of us now in Los Angeles. Happy to have Mark joining us. So to get it started, why don't you tell us a little bit about your startup that you did while you were in grad school, and we'll just kind of go from there. What inspired you to get started?
Yeah, sure. One quick correction. I started in undergrad. I'm still pursuing, planning on pursuing graduate school. And I'm sure my parents will be very happy when I send them the letter that, yes, I am in fact going to graduate school. But I just completed undergrad. But yeah, I started this with two of my really good friends at the University of West Florida. Names were Marcus Jackson and Carson Wilbur. And it came out of like a side project that we had. Marcus and I started a chapter of the National Society of Black Engineers on campus just to give us, some students who are in engineering school, a place where we could fellowship together, learn together, and also give back to our community. And that was what I was leading, was the community outreach. And we knew we really wanted to go back to areas in our community that just didn't really have the resources or the programs that we fell in love with science with when we were children. Very Not very often did I hear people say like, "Hey, I'm doing this because I love math," or "I'm doing this because I love science." Most engineers just love tinkering with things. They just really enjoy just putting their hands on something and seeing what they can build. And that's what made us fall in love with, for me, computer science, Marcus, mechanical engineering, and also Carson with computer science. And we wanted to give that opportunity to other students as well. So what we did is we tried to figure out how can we make a science program that is cheap for us, broke college students, to be able to fund it, but also has impact on the students as well. And that's when we came up with Inertia. And we call it Inertia because we believe students who may not be, loving science right now, they may not necessarily want to pursue something in math. We can be that outside force to them. We can be the person who comes alongside them and says, "Hey, you can do this. This is fun. You would enjoy doing it." And maybe one day they'll become, a future scientist or engineer. So we started it off in 2017, as you mentioned. Started off with about 15 students. And we thought, this is great. We've got 15 kids. They're enjoying this. But as kids do, they had fun and they went and told their friends. And then it grew from 15 to 60. And then from 60, we expanded to more schools. Pre-COVID, we were up to 750 students. And we're expecting, post, as COVID starts to, sort of settle down a little bit and people are vaccinated, we're forecasting we'll be working with about 1,500, and that number will continue to go up. So it's been, we like to say it was a very happy accident for us. We didn't plan on starting the company. We didn't plan on necessarily it growing as big as it did, but we started it, we saw the need, and as the need grew, we grew along with the company. So we've been working on this for 4 years. We're just starting to get some full-time staff. We're excited to see where it continues to go.
That's amazing. That answer was full of passion and commitment to getting this work done. And the story, the narrative of how it came to be is quite beautiful. It just kind of grew into something that you didn't imagine at first, but the need was there, so it grew. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Really impressive growth as well. Like that's for any kind of a startup, but for one that you really didn't set out to have it grow that large that fast. So what kinds of learning curves did you experience?
Personally, I served as the executive director, so like sort of the president of the company. I was a software engineer and am a software engineer by trade. So I had no idea how to run a business at all. Uh, so I had to figure all of that out. Also the learning curve of nonprofits. So, there's running for-profit businesses, but nonprofits operate a little bit differently and have some different guidelines from the IRS and whatnot. So having to learn all of that was definitely a learning curve for me. And a big one that I think that I've learned, kind of looking back, but didn't necessarily see it in the moment, is safeguarding your mission and your vision. As you grow, you get more attention, you get more people that are willing to donate money to you. And one of our big things was staying true to our vision and our mission and where we wanted to see the company go and where we felt our customers, who are like our students and the parents, are they enjoying our product? Are they enjoying the service that they're getting? Looking back, I think a lot of our success was because of that, how seriously we took safeguarding our mission and our vision.
So what does it look like from the students' perspective? Like, what are they engaged in? How do they participate in engineering and math and STEM stuff?
Yeah, sure. So we use project-based learning, and our goal is for it to all be hands-on and really to be as fun as possible. We've even had students come in and say, we ask them, be conversational with the students and say, hey, how was your science class today? And they'll say, science class was okay, but this is a lot of fun. But what they don't realize is we're teaching them the same exact thing as their teachers are teaching them in the classroom. It's just engaging, those 2 or 3 students, those few students in a different way that works for them. And all of our projects are hands-on, like I said, and we use cheap household products. So we're going to teach them, the standards. At Florida at the time, it was Common Core. I know there's different changes going on with standards across the country, but all of our lessons were mapped to Common Core, and we work hand in hand with the teachers to figure out where are their students struggling. Maybe it's a few math standards, maybe it's a few science standards, and we'd create a project around that. So for example, one of our most popular ones is our chemistry program. And our chemistry program teaches them all the principles on all the terms they need to be able to succeed in the classroom. So, what is chemistry? What is a reaction? What is an acid? What is a base? Our students are definitely going to leave that program knowing what those things are. And we teach it to them by taking them outside, let them get a little bit dirty, let them get a little active. And we take baking soda vinegar, baking soda vinegar, Diet Coke and Mentos. They see explosions. They see, stuff going everywhere and they're having tons of fun. But the whole time we're saying like, okay, we want you guys who have baking soda. We want you to go over to the left. You're team base. You guys go over here with the vinegar, you're team acid. And, now they're chanting back and forth, team acid, team base, team acid, team base. And when they mix the two together, we tell them this is going to be a reaction. So you have a lot of different ways that they're absorbing the information. Some people, they're really focused on the materials that we've got. Some students are really focused on like the teams they got broken up into. And some students really love the experiment. So we're engaging them in a lot of different ways so that they can absorb the information in the way that's best for them.
It sounds spectacular. And I just, in full disclosure mode, have to tell you that Dejana's title is Director of Education and Playful Learning. So we are really big on the having a good time while you're learning part of this. And did that come out of your own experience of science? Like, was there someone in your young life that motivated you to go in that direction?
Yeah, that's a great question. I did. So I sort of struggled with math and science when I was growing up. Some years I would do really well, some years I wouldn't. And it was tough for me, especially because my siblings they're great at math and science, my older siblings. But for me, I was more of on the creative side of things, I would say. But I had some teachers, specifically my 6th grade teacher. His name is Mr. Howe. He's still teaching to this day, and he loves what he does. He was the type of teacher that always had something interactive. Some of his lessons I still remember. The Battle of Yorktown, which is now made famous because of Hamilton. I remember to this day, he dressed up as George Washington. He took like a meter stick and acted like he was battling out, on the shores of Yorktown. And I still remember it. When we were learning about like pie, for example, he would bring in pie, and everyone learns better with pie in the room. So those different type of engagements helped me, do a lot better in my math classes. And I had another teacher very similar my ninth grade year. His name was Mr. Vanaha. And again, he always had different gadgets. He always had different experiments and examples that really brought the learning to life. And that was something that was really deep to me in my journey of becoming, a scientist and that, working in the STEAM field. And we wanted to give that opportunity to students as well. Marcus had the same interaction. He knew he wanted to be a mechanical engineer because he grew up around cars. And to this day, Marcus always has like the nicest car. He works on it every weekend. He's got, new paint job. He's tinkering with it. And that love has carried him through college to what he's doing now. So some of these students are going to latch on the same way we did. And we think they're going to live great lives because of it.
You had a third co-founder, I think, didn't you? What's that one
Yes.
up to?
His name is Carson Wilbur. He's also a computer scientist like myself. He currently works at IHMC, which is this is the Institute for Human and Machine Cognition in Pensacola. Yeah. It's a robotics firm that also works on like artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. And he works there now. He started interning there while he was in college, and then he got full-time employment there. And he's currently planning on pursuing a PhD in artificial intelligence.
Ah, brilliant.
Right? So can you tell us a little bit about, now that was in Florida, you moved here. What are some of your current projects and your current engagements?
Yeah, so right now we are having a lot of engagement with people outside of our community who would like to see what we've done come to life in their community. So one of our things has been, in our mission statement, we specifically said in Escambia County, which is the county we were from in Florida. But as we've grown, we've realized, hey, this is something that we want to be able to duplicate and show to other people outside of Pensacola. So we're taking a lot of our programs, we're digitizing them right now into these handouts that any teacher or any nonprofit across the country can access them on our website, and they can be able to do the same thing with their students. I would also like to have like videos that accompany them. So there's an after school program, or maybe they're a little bit shorthanded on people. They can play the video, the students can have the handouts, and then that way, we can grow our program as well. I'm originally from Kenya, so a lot of my family is still back there, and a lot of them are teachers. And this is something that, I've talked to them about whenever I was there visiting. And with this digital and like the internet age, they can use the same exact materials in their classroom in Kenya as we use here. And we use very basic, very cheap materials. So we'd love to see us continue to grow, outside of just Florida, but to California, Los Angeles, to Kenya, anyone who sees the need and wants to use it.
And how about your work with Studer Education? Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Studer Education, I get a really good opportunity to blend my different skills and talents I've learned over time in computer science and business, and also just like in building new products. And my job there my title is a digital product analyst. And what I do there is build a lot of the material that we use, one-on-one with consulting with our coaches out in the field. I'm helping to build digital platforms that deliver the same material. So we are focused on what's called the 9 principles for organizational excellence and how this can improve an organization, specifically in education, using a very clear set of rules and guidelines that build great culture. And once you have a great culture in an organization, the people perform at higher levels because they love where they come into work. So 2 of the sites that I've helped build have been DHP Academy and 9principles.com. And 9principles.com is for education professionals who would like to get some professional development. Maybe they start off as a teacher and now they're a principal, or now they're a director in the school district and didn't necessarily get a lot of the like leadership skills along the way. Great teachers, but now they want to, start building up their leadership skills or their ability to manage individuals. We have free accounts. So anyone who's watching this, who's interested in visiting it, just going around, seeing what it's about, it's a great resource for teachers or anybody who's new to leadership role to learn more about that.
And how did that come about?
When I was in college, some of our work started, making a buzz in the community. And at that time, one of the managing directors, Janet Pilcher, I had a conversation with her, and that led to an internship with them. So they saw my passion, my love for education, and also my skills to be, build digital products. So it's kind of like a good, a good blend for me to learn in my last year of college, where I was, hey, this is something I really enjoy doing. I get to see the impact that I have in students' lives. I get to have an impact on teachers, leaders in the organization as well. And it's been a lot of fun. We also have an additional program called Teacher Ready, which is a teacher certification program. And I've gotten to work on that as well. So I feel like I get a good opportunity to impact students across the spectrum, from recent college grads who are now trying to go into a teaching career to helping support leaders in the school district and also students in the nonprofit I started.
Awesome. So you have a background in software engineering.
Yes.
I think it's fascinating how you've used those skills to enter the education, realm. Can you speak a little bit more about the intersection between software engineering and education? Because it looks like the company you're working for is kind of working in that zone. I'd love to learn more about where that intersection occurs.
Yeah, so I think it's two big things for me. Growing up, my dad, huge on education. One thing that he always took seriously for us was our education and making sure we did what we needed to do to succeed. And education was beyond just school. Education was, my music education. So it was beyond just classroom. Athletics, that was important. You just, whatever you put your mind to, do what you need to do to learn, to get good at it so you can succeed. I think that's a very common immigrant experience, but my dad, I know, specifically preached that a lot. With computer science, I just really liked tinkering. I remember on the 7th, 8th grade, I got my first smartphone, and I scared my parents by making them think I almost broke it. But I was trying to change the software on it in the Android phone, which allows that. So it was a lot of fun for me, just growing and learning as a software engineer. And I got to be able to blend those two things in a way that I see the impact, but I also get to use my skill in a way that is meaningful work. And also I see the difference that I make. So I think ed tech in general is just a field or a space that is growing right now. It's seeing growth by leaps and bounds. I've seen in Los Angeles, so many companies are popping up to help get education to different individuals in a way that really wasn't possible before. High grade teachers, you have teachers from MIT, Harvard, all these schools who now have open source learning that a lot of times, me in Florida, I wouldn't have necessarily been able to go up to Boston for a Harvard class, Harvard Business School, and I was learning business, but now I'm able to do that. So I think the intersection of the two is extremely powerful. Just as we as we continue to grow in our education area.
Is the company that you're currently working with supportive of you pursuing graduate degrees?
Yeah, absolutely. So Huron as a whole, I believe, supports you if you're pursuing a master's program. I'm not sure the exact details on how they go about that, but most of the individuals I work with have terminal degrees in education or in education leadership. So they're extremely supportive of anybody who wants to continue, through formal schooling and formal education.
Well, that must make your parents happy then. You're working in a place that also encourages that. And you mentioned you have siblings. Are you the youngest in the family?
Yes, so I'm the youngest of 4. My older siblings, I have 3, is a sister who's she lives in Oklahoma City now. She's married to a military man in the Air Force, and she works there as a pharmacist. And then I have my oldest brother, who is a oral surgeon in the Navy. He's in Chicago, who I'll be going to visit him this coming weekend. Just had his first baby in the past month. So I'm going to go see them, get to hopefully give her some hugs and some kisses. And then I have my brother right before me, who is a dentist, and he's stationed in Okinawa.
So your parents did a very good job of encouraging everyone to get an education, didn't they?
Yeah. Absolutely. If there was one thing we had to do was get an education.
How old were you when you came from Kenya?
I was very young. I was a year old. So I was born there.
Right.
My siblings are much older than me. The closest sibling is 5 years older than me. Mm-hmm. So they were a little bit older, but I was 1 year old. And I've gotten to go back and visit on occasions, just because most of my family is there beyond my immediate.
Very nice. So your work with Huron, are you mostly supporting the group that's out working with teachers, or do you have an opportunity to get out in the community with teachers as well?
I don't get out in the community with teachers as much. I do a lot of the support work as they go on site and making sure that the different tools that they're going to be using online are working properly, and ensuring that they get the results that they need. So we have several toolkits. We have several I guess like resources that a lot of the superintendents and university presidents use to facilitate different focus groups and different results rollouts for their teams. And a lot of those are digital. Before it would be like handing out papers, having to hand calculate all of those, the old school way of doing a lot of this. But I've been able to take most of those things and put them online, so that it's a lot quicker. We can move a lot faster as a company.
Right. Is there anything you want to share from your slides that would help people
Sure.
understand better, or do you think you've already explained it well?
I can let me at least show some of these images that we've
Okay.
got here. As we are you seeing a picture of inertia?
No, we're seeing your home screen. And it does look like you're very busy. There we are.
There we go.
Look at all those fabulous faces.
So yeah, this is a picture of one of our family nights, which is a lot of fun. After a semester is sort of wrapped up, we love to have a family night where parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, anybody can come, and we allow the students to really talk through their projects. So they get the opportunity to show their parents what they've learned, and it's a great validation experience for them. We've seen parents enjoy it. They see how smart their student is. They're able to explain concepts that, are, maybe they wouldn't have been able to explain to them a year ago. And younger siblings come and they start getting excited for whenever they go to third grade, so they can be able to come to the inertia programs too. So this is a great opportunity we have every semester to do that. And then what I can show you as well is this. This is how we're digitizing our lesson plans right now. So on the left, you'll see Flying High. This is a projects that were used, bottles, paper, tape, markers, a lot of things that students will typically have around the house, or it's not hard to get them. And we give them step-by-step instructions for, okay, this is how you build a bottle rocket out of these materials. And then they also get on the backside, they get the explanation for the science behind each of them. So that's a great one. And then also we have Breath and Beat, which explains how the heart works, the different ventricles, the different like the parts of your heart as well, using just balloons, string, straws, and a pair of scissors. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that we are able to do for pretty cheap. Most of our projects cost about $1.50 per student to be able to execute on one of these. So it's a lot of fun. And those are two just quick things I wanted to show you, just because I think it adds a good visual to exactly what we do.
It does. Now I want to do that.
Right.
I want to do that.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of times the adults, we have volunteers who come in, and we like to keep it at a 1-to-4 ratio. One volunteer a student, one volunteer or adult to 4 students. And a lot of times the adults have more fun than the kids, because it's a lot of fun to do these types of projects.
Oh, but you have volunteers come in as well. Are those student volunteers from the college, adult volunteers? I'm curious as to what that whole community looks like.
Yeah, so it's a range. We've been blessed to have a lot of people who have come through. I'd say about 160 or so over the past, 4 years. And originally it was a lot of college students because we were in college. And we still have a pretty solid volunteer base that we're rebuilding right now, post, through COVID. But a lot of our volunteers now are corporate sponsors. So we have different banks that support us, different like law firms in the area that are very supportive of what we do. We also have a large DoD presence in Northwest Florida. I think we have the largest military per capita, maybe in the world, but definitely in the United States. And a lot of it is research based. So a lot of the research scientists are there. They'll come out, they speak at family nights. Some of them came from the same schools that we are at, and now they are, coming back to speak at that school. So it's a great, visual for the students as well to see somebody who came from where they come from, and now, they're a research scientist or a pilot. So it's a great opportunity for people from all ages. We've had as young as 8th grade come out and be a volunteer to, people who are retired captains from the military.
So has any of this exposure made you want to work in the classroom, Basil?
It has. It very much has. I think I would enjoy it. I've had the opportunity to teach a lot. Well, growing up, I was a youth leader in my church. So I got an opportunity to really be able to teach kids, see the impact you can have on them. And the classroom is something that does call me at times. And I do work at a place that has teacher certifications. So that might be a sign for me to hey, let me enroll in the teacher certification program and pursue it.
I think the students would be so lucky to have you in the classroom. And I think Dr. Kaluba is not a bad name if you continue with the graduate degrees.
I agree 100%. If that door opens for you, walk through it, because I have a smile on my face for all of the young people that you have had an impact on their lives and that you're going to continue to impact. So I'm inspired, and I'm sure many of our viewers are inspired as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
And it does sound like there's some sibling rivalry there that will require you to get some serious graduate degrees to keep up with the siblings. You don't want Christmas to be all about you not getting there, right?
Right.
Just to keep the parents from nagging you about not being in allied healthcare somehow,
Right. Yeah, and my parents are both in healthcare as well.
Right.
So,
this is going to sound way too much like, what you ask your junior high nephew, well, what are you going to do next? But you got your feet kind of in several territory. You got software going, you got nonprofit going, you got all kinds of stuff going. What's sort of the next step for you? Where do you think you're going to let your talents fly in the next year or two? What do you anticipate? I mean, finishing up your degree, certainly, but after that.
Yeah, so product management appeals to me a lot. I've been able to learn a lot more about that. And I could see myself, continuing to work as a product at Huron, also being part of startups that are working on similar problems. I'm in education, and I do have a love and a passion for music. So I think any applications or anything that can also be music education, I think any of those avenues would be great for me. I'm still figuring a lot of that out, but we'll see what the future holds.
Can you talk a little bit more about the music and what your experience has been, what you'd like to bring into education?
Yeah, so music historically has been like a passion of mine. I did a lot of vocal performance when I was in high school and into college, and I also did piano performance as well. So both of those things they're sort of like my way of, my creative expression, I guess to say, whenever I have free time to be able to do that. So I know the role that music played in my life, even just being able to step away whenever I was working on homework in college, being able to play a song or two, really helped clear my mind to return back to the problem. And I know there is a lot of science behind that, behind stepping away, getting into like a creative space for a little bit, and then that helps you solve problems later. And I think a lot of students could benefit from having that form of expression as well. So a way of doing that would be, a problem that I would love to solve. And if anyone's working on that, I would love to be a part of it as well.
Oh, I think you'll be hearing from us, Basil. But also, Dejana, I can't believe it is 5:00 again. It goes by so fast.
It really does. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. It was inspirational and fun. And being the director of Playful Learning, I love everything about what you're doing with Inertia and what you're going to continue to do, working in whatever sector that you land in, 100%. Well, that's about it for today. Thank you so much, Dr. Mark Riddle, for joining us too for our conversation. I'm Dr. Dejana. I'm with Dr. Leah, and that's it for this episode of Teachers for Teachers. Please join us next week.
Thanks.